TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Farm, home of Tis Wonderful, an undefeated multiple graded stakes winning juvenile and leading second crop sire by Tis Now.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup alongside Joel Cunningham. I'm John Siegel. You know, Joel, it's an exciting time of year. Last weekend, Super Saturday. This weekend, we have the Fall Stars weekend. What I want to do is look at last weekend's races and see how they shook up the TCI top five. And let's start off with the sprint because we saw a really exciting race. Private Zone, who's currently our number 2 on TCI top five, ships from the West Coast and comes over. Did he do enough, though, in this race? He won it. Did he do enough to get on the TCI top five?
He did. And I think my evaluation was good on him. I'm going to leave him in the second spot until I see Triniberg run, which should be this weekend, the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, John. I'm going to leave Private Zone in that 2 spot, but you had to be impressed with the way he shipped across coast, broke from the far outside, showed that good speed, was actually passed by Justin Phillips, and then outgained him on the rail, John. He has the lick and the gameness that I want to see in a horse going 6 furlongs that can be a top Breeders' Cup Sprint contender. And he likes Santa Anita. Third off the layoff, watch out next month.
Well, you mentioned Justin Phillip there, and you said he was very impressive. You know, he actually passed Private Zone, as you mentioned.
Right.
He's done enough now to get on the top 5. I see you took Fast Bullet off, and you put Justin Phillip on. Any reason for that?
Yeah, Fast Bullet just not going the right direction for me, so I swapped stablemates. Justin Phillip is a horse that's really gotten good this year. I mean, I never really thought he was a top-class colt, maybe an elite colt, but this year his form is very good at 6 furlongs. I think he bounced in his previous start, came back to form now in the Vosburg, and I think, if he takes to Santa Anita, he has enough lick to kind of lay mid-pack and then fire late. He's a closer to watch out for.
Well, there's some other races to watch out for this weekend, some more winning your ends for the sprint division. We see Declassify in action and possibly Gentleman's Bet there at Keeneland. Yeah,
absolutely. Gentleman's Bet's your favorite. And the Phoenix on Friday, we'll learn a lot about him. I think he's very fast, very talented, even though he's lightly raced. And then Bob Baffert has a trio of horses I'm very intrigued to see this weekend in the Santa Anita Championship. That's Declassify, the talented 3-year-old, even though he's lightly raced as well. And then the 2 veterans coming back, Roman Threat and Secret Circle possibly in that race as well. And then maybe Triniberg, like you said, the top horse. I really need to see something out of him.
All right, let's move to a different division. Let's talk juvenile fillies. Last weekend we saw Secret Compass, very impressive, into Chandelier. Where does she end up on the TCI top 5?
Well, being that she's a Grade 1 winner now for Bob Baffert, and it clearly got better around 2 turns, winning the prep out there on the West Coast, and then the Breeders' Cup being at Santa Anita, I think you have to have her in the top 5. I'm going to put her in the 4 spot. JoJo Warrior, Bob Baffert's other nice filly, had some shins come up on her. She's going to miss 30 days, so she won't make the Breeders' Cup now. She comes off the list. I'm going to leave Concave in the 5 spot, another West Coast filly. Really no change in my order here. Fascinating. Again, still a maiden. Closed a lot of ground. Probably made up 7-8 lengths in the stretch in that field, in that Chandelier field. Still couldn't get her nose in front. I don't typically like horses like this, John, but I still think, and I do question whether or not she can get up at Santa Anita, a track that typically favors front runners. So her closing style may not fit that track, but I'm going to give her one more shot, so I'm going to leave her in the top spot. I still think she's a big player next month.
Well, that may change this weekend. We see Sweet Reason possibly running this weekend.
Absolutely.
If she wins impressively, does she move up to that number 1 spot?
I think all the 2-year-old races are going to change. Maybe all of our top 5s coming into next week, John. I mean, you have the Frizette. Obviously, we know how good the Champagne is, and then Keeneland has some 2-year-old races too. So no question, if Sweet Reason looks very good in the Frizette, can handle that, even though it's a 1-turn mile, you would have to give her consideration for the top spot.
Well, you mentioned right there the Champagne, so that leads me right to the Juvenile. We saw the front runner. This is an interesting race because I see Bondholder, very impressive. Can the Man, a horse we were pretty high on, Joel, he was out there on the lead battling. He tired late. I'm interested to see where he ends up on the TCI top 5 and where you put Bondholder.
Well, Can the Man, again, to me, I was expecting to see him forwardly place and maybe a breakout performance around 2 turns. Instead, he dueled with Dance with Fate. Dance with Fate put Can the Man away. Can the Man fades. Dance with Fate is your runner-up in here. I was impressed enough with Dance with Fate as the local horse to move him into the top 5 off that performance. The race set up for Bondholder. I mean, those 2 horses dueling on the front end with those wicked fractions really set up for a horse like Bondholder to reel him in late. But Bondholder doesn't make my list because he did get the setup. I like Dance with Fate, and really I just kind of moved the other horses up. Mosler, not sure what's going on with him yet. We'll learn a lot about these horses. Due Diligence, he's a horse that's training, still in northern New York. Really no plans for him yet that I have seen. So some of these horses, without question, there'll be a lot of mix-up in these top fives again come next week after these preps.
All right, speaking of mix-up, we're going to move now to the filly and mare sprint because we have a new number one in this division. It's a horse that, I always question why she wasn't in the number one spot. You had Beholder in there, but Beholder comes off this list completely after her performance this weekend.
Well, Groupie Doll obviously getting back with the track record, last time out in the Masters. We're going to learn a lot about her in the TCA. She's a defending champ there. She's going to face Judy the Beauty, a pretty good filly in her own right that can handle the polytrack this weekend at Keeneland. So we'll learn a lot about Groupie Doll going back to Santa Anita, but you have to think third off the layoff. You might even see her best performance yet. Renee's got Zip, the talented West Coast horse.
Yep.
I tell you what, she got some pace pressure when this filly won 2 weeks ago. Cluster of Stars, what a freakish filly, John. Undefeated New York bred. She'll add a lot of speed to the Breeders' Cup. She has to be in the top 5 now off of that performance. Book Review, another closer. Close hatches, I don't know what they're going to do with her. Impressive winner of the Cotillion. Are they going to cut her back? Are they going to try the Distaff? Or are they going to skip the Breeders' Cup? I'll leave her in the top 5 for now. Beholder comes off the list because after, obviously, her Zenyatta win, she's going to run in the Distaff.
Well, let's go ahead and talk Distaff then. Beholder's so impressive over the weekend. This is her second race where she's really just looked like she's been on cruise control. Where do you land her now in the Distaff division?
Not as high as you may think, because I still question a 1.125 distance with her. Now, she loves Santa Anita, and that's a big feather in her cap, the fact that the Breeders' Cup's run at Santa Anita. But, I'm going to keep her in the 4 spot. I was very impressed with Princess of Silmar, obviously beating defending champion Royal Delta. I'm going to keep it number 1. I don't think that was Royal Delta's best race we saw in the Beldame. Maybe she got the bounce out of the way. We know what she did last year at Santa Anita. I'm going to keep her at number 1. I loved Authenticity's race. The fact that she broke class, found herself in a position dead last that she's not used to, had to make a middle move to even catch Beholder, who got things her own way, and then rallied in the stretch to close some ground on Beholder. I loved Authenticity's race. She's very dangerous next month. And obviously I mentioned Princess Silmar. How can you not have her in the top 3 now? And Close Hatches, again, what are we going to do with her? I'm going to move her in the 5 spot because I think she's a top 5 type talent right now, and Include Me out disappointed, so she's out.
All right, let's move now then to the main race, the Classic. Joel, we see some more shakeup in here. We see Cross Traffic was in action, Great Art was impressive in the Kelso, but tell me, what's the top 5 look like now?
Well, a lot of shakeup in here, John, and a lot of horses did not run well. Cross Traffic, you mentioned, broke terrible at the gate, never involved. I thought that was an oddly run Jockey Club Gold Cup, and he certainly didn't get a sniff of it at all. Just never got into any sort of rhythm or made any sort of threat once he broke poorly. To me, he's still a good horse. He's going to come in fresh. I have to drop him a little bit, though. I'm going to put him at number 4. I still question a 1.25 with him. Great Art. I love this comeback. A lot of people knocked his comeback in the Kelso. All he did was win in his cruising speed. I thought he had something left. I didn't want to see him go too fast off a layoff.
Right.
He gave me just what I wanted to see from a horse that can now have a few works, move forward second off the layoff, and run a big race if he runs in the Classic. Great Art goes to 3 for me. Mucho Macho Man. I mean, how could you not be impressed with his win in the Awesome Game? He just blew the doors off of Painter. I think Painter was a little green in there taking dirt. However, no excuse. Mucho Macho Man blew him away, showed a good cruising speed with Gary Stevens. He likes Santa Anita. If he can replicate that performance next month, he might be your winner. I'm going to leave Game On Dude in the top spot, obviously, but Painter has to drop to number 5. A little disappointing with him, but I still think Painter, watch out, I think he's a lifelong champ.
Well, I got to challenge you a little bit here. I see Fort Larned, a horse that, all he did was win. It may not have been a graded stake, but he handled that track very well, handled that competition very well, and sets himself up as a defending champion. You don't even have him in the top 5.
Well, the question I have with Fort Larned, I don't know if he's quite as sharp right now, John. He did win at Churchill, and he just ran the horses off their feet, and it wasn't a very good field. But the question I have for him is, A, is he as sharp? B, how's he going to handle the other pace pressure? Game On Dude breaks this year, and you have horses like Cross Traffic that forwardly place, even Mucho Macho Man. I need to find a horse that's maybe a little tactical, a little more so than Fort Larned, that can maybe sit off of him. That's why I give Painter the edge on a horse like Fort Larned, who has one way to go, and that's to the lead.
All right, there's one race that we kind of passed over that we got to talk about. It's the Champagne. We see our number 1 and our number 2 Honor Code and also Strong Mandate in there. Tell me, how do you see that race sizing up this weekend?
Yeah, well, we kind of passed. That's a pretty important thing when you talk about the juveniles. I tell you what, I just love Honor Code, John. I think he has so much potential. Strong Mandate's a horse for me that's already run really hard, had to ship to Kentucky, now is shipping back. He certainly may be your favorite in there, but I tell you what, I believe the hype of Honor Code. I think he's going to be your winner of this race. Honor Code, again, that's why I have him number 1. If they bring him to the Breeders' Cup, I think we could see something pretty special.
All right, thank you, Joel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We'll shake out these top 5s once again.
TwinSpires.com and you can earn exclusive access to Kentucky Derby tickets. Wager at least $2,000 on races from Churchill Downs tracks or $4,000 total in September to earn VIP status, but only at TwinSpires.com.